week, and we're glad to be here. Hi, Casey.
Hello.
I just wanted to just take a minute to give a shout out of thanks to all the businesses, local and beyond York, who have gifted something to our Olivia Gala that's coming up on at the end of the month of March.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge gift. Our gala is probably, well, it is definitely our single largest fundraising event that we hold. And it's instrumental because it pays a lot of things that we can't necessarily get grants to pay for.
Right.
A lot of granting organizations don't necessarily want to pay for the electric bills or the heat bills or those,
or even my salary.
Our bereavement specialist kind of salaries. So those fundraising efforts that we put forth allow us to do that, and the gala being one of them. We're excited this year. It's actually our 10th annual gala, so it's a big accomplishment and a big achievement, and to say the least, it's going to be a big night. So hopefully you'll be able to join us. But thanks to everyone, businesses and alike, who purchased ads in the program guides, or purchased or did a sponsorship for the evening, or donated an item from their store to our auction, which is huge because that's another really big way we bring in dollars. And
I'd like to personally thank my dear friend Steve Gamble at the Gallatin River Lodge out in Bozeman, Montana. He's donated a 3-night stay at this 5-star fishing lodge where it has a gourmet chef and 5-star quality lodge that is absolutely gorgeous, and a spa, and guys can fish. You can go into the Yellowstone on horseback. And he's donated a 3-night stay. So thanks, Steve, so much. That was such a great gift. We appreciate it.
And thanks to Southwest Airlines for giving us airfare anywhere in the intercontinental U.S.
So we'll be able to,
you'll be able to fly out to Montana, as part of that. So, but if you are out there and you have something that you could donate to the gala, still not too late. We accept donations right up through March.
Love that. So absolutely. One way you help the children.
Absolutely. Actually, I think one of our program families, Mike Lissauer, gave us a power washing, a house power washing. Unique gift we've never gotten before. So it was a neat one.
It is a unique gift. I like that. That's cool.
Absolutely. I was thinking the other day, and I wanted to talk about on the show, and I wanted to pick your brain on, here in Pennsylvania, as you were, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of sentiment in the last week to 2 weeks about Joe Paterno's death.
Yes.
And while, I really don't want to go too much into that, one of the things that got me, thinking was, we often talk about at Olivia's house the death of a loved one.
Right.
But every now and then, and more often than we care to admit, we actually have the death of someone who not always is a loved one. Mm-hmm. And how does that enter into the picture when, maybe there was daddy was in prison, or daddy was an addict, or something like that. How do you handle that kind of situation?
Well, it's very real, and I appreciate you even acknowledging this, because I think so many people don't know how to talk about the fact that I know he was my father, but I didn't really love him, or I didn't love him in the last 10 years of his life. I didn't even know who he was. He changed so desperately. And it complicates the bereavement, and it is difficult. And we see it a lot here with children, where a loved one may have been abusive, or their addictions may have caused their personality to be not so loving, or maybe they didn't even know their loved one, their family member, I should say. They didn't know their family member, and everybody assumes because it's family, you love them, because, that's what we're taught in our culture, family above everything else. And that makes it very difficult, especially for a child, to know how to sort through all those feelings that can seem like they're not real genuine, when you don't know how to cry because you're not sad, because either there's some relief there that you don't have him abusing you or her abusing you anymore, or there's not drama surrounding your life because that person won't be in it anymore. It's very hard. Do
you find, I had a very dear friend that I sat bedside with, and he was so close to me, but he actually had a form of brain cancer, and in those final days he actually slipped into where his personality almost changed overnight, and he became mean and violent and that kind of thing. Does that happen frequently with our families?
I wouldn't say frequently, but it does happen. And so we address it, and we work with people to try to look at what it was about that person that you loved, or that if it was your spouse that you fell in love with originally. What was that quality in them that you can maybe hang on to? And that doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge and validate for yourself the anger that you hold or the resentment you have, even guilt that comes into play. All those emotions have to be processed and worked through. But also along with that can be the fact that you did love them for a reason. So what were those reasons? And it's interesting, we were talking the other day about the phenomenon that happens where someone can be brutally abusive, and yet when they die, we seem to put them on a pedestal and kind of forget that they were who they were for a while. And I was asked the question, why does that happen? And quite frankly, I don't have an answer for why it happens, but it does. Someone can be at odds with somebody, not speaking, have no interest in having a relationship, and they die, and all of a sudden that person was a saint. And it leaves everybody around looking like, well, wait a minute, I thought they were really, really horrific to you, and I don't understand why now all of a sudden they're on a pedestal. So I think the bottom line in it all is we just have to be patient with grieving people. We have to be understanding of their need to sort things out and process it as it comes. And
well, I think one of the most interesting things I've seen you teach the families, when their family member isn't necessarily a loved one, which was to honor the relationship that you had no matter what it was.
right.
And that's unique and individual to you, whether it was a loving relationship or whether it was a familial relationship.
Right. What did you learn from it? What life lessons did you get from the relationship you had? If it was a wonderful, loving, positive relationship, then, those are the lessons that your spirit got. And if it wasn't, if it was tenuous and difficult and full of drama, then what did you take from the chaos? What lessons did you learn? I always have this tagline I borrowed from someone that I thought was brilliant, is that don't waste your chaos. So, figure out from that tough relationship, what did I learn that's going to make me a stronger individual? What did I take from that tough time that has made me now a very strong person and can give back to someone else who may not be so strong?
I think there was an interesting story of a family, I worked with here, who mother wasn't terribly thrilled by the father. He had addiction and what have you. But when the son was able to say, my father's a hero because he taught me that I don't want to do drugs.
Right.
And I thought that was really a poignant moment where, mom was harboring this ill will, and rightly so, that's hers to have. But son was turning it into a different place of how can I look at his life while it wasn't great?
Right.
How was it great for me?
Right.
And I thought that was an interesting perspective.
I think that's a great perspective, and I think we can learn a lot from children because there is a certain level of innocence in them that allows for someone to be who they are, even in death. And then as you process that relationship through the years, you draw more out of it, and that's the gift you get. But there's a gift in every relationship, as difficult as it is or as wonderful as it is, and yours is to unwrap that gift and show it to the world.
All right.
Okay.
Is it fair to say sometimes you don't always like the gift you're given it?
Absolutely.
You wish you could return it, but you just can't find that receipt.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, hold on.
So, but what I found is, in my over 50 years of life, is that even in the moment that you think you're never going to wear that, it's not my style, or what am I ever going to do with this? I don't have a place for this in my house. In time.
Yeah.
It might come into style, or it might be something you need. And I've had that happen so many times in my life now that I've had more than 50 years to live, that something that I didn't appreciate back when it was happening, I really have grown to appreciate and have seen now the life lesson in it. And it takes time. And that's why I think, we have to recognize that life is so precious and it's such a gift, because the time that you have to be able to pull all of the pieces of the puzzle together is ultimately the best part. And so, yeah,
well,
I agree.
Let me just put this one out there before we go, because we do have to wrap it up. But actually, I'm going to ask if you out there, anyone watching, had a lesson that you learned from your loved one, maybe,
or not so loved one,
or maybe after their death, or whatever the case might be, throw it up on our wall. I'd be
Yeah.
interested to see what
Share it.
lessons have been learned or what gifts were given that you didn't know or didn't think you wanted to get.
And I love the comments we're receiving, and I think that's awesome. So keep hitting the Facebook, and thank you so much. Have a great week, everybody.